gentlemen, I want to react to a video with you guys from Alpha M, specifically his video that is called "The Fragrance World Has Lied to You." The reason being is that he makes some points that I highly disagree with, some that I agree with, and some that I genuinely want to talk about and discuss with you guys. So let's not waste any more time and let's react to Alpha M's video.
First up, let's talk about where to spray, all right? There are so many different pulse points that people talk about, right? On your neck, on your chest, on your elbow, on your wrist, behind your ear, on the back of your knee. Gentlemen, stop it. The only three you need to worry about is here, here, and here. Your neck and your chest. That's it. None of these other pulse points that everybody's talking about or spritzing their fragrance on is really moving the needle in terms of you smelling amazing. Why? Well, here's the deal. If you want somebody to smell you, it's got to be up close to their face. If you're spraying on your wrist, right, think about it. Where is it? Unless you're like holding it here when you're talking to people, which is weird, it's down by your waist. All right, and your waist isn't close to their face.
So I slightly disagree with what Aaron has to say here. You should prioritize pulse points when applying a fragrance. I agree with that, but which pulse points you should prioritize is what he's getting wrong here. In my opinion, if there are some pulse points that you should prioritize, it would be the back of your neck and behind your ears. Reason being is that whenever you apply fragrances on these pulse points that I mentioned, which are behind your ears and on the back of your neck, is that your fragrance will project more and it will be more likely to create a sillage trail whenever you're walking past someone. It's like creating an invisible tail of scent whenever you apply it on the back of your neck and behind your ears here. And whenever you're applying a fragrance on your chest, as Aaron is suggesting, will just make you more anosmic to the fragrance that you're wearing. Reason being is the trajectory of smelling something from your nose is directly down because of the direction your nostrils are facing, and that is directly in front of you, which is on the front of your chest. And since your nose will be picking up on the scent that is right in front of it, right here on the top of your chest, it will get tired of that scent more quickly because your nose is just one big filter of scent, and if the nose picks up on a scent a lot and not a lot of anything else, will filter that scent away, which creates the sensation of you becoming anosmic to a scent even though it's right in front of you. So that's why you might experience a scent being weak or not lasting long, because you're smelling it all the time because of the trajectory of where your nose is actually smelling things, which is right in front of you. So if you apply your scent right on the top of your chest, of course your nose will grow tired of that scent and you will think that the scent doesn't last long. And I want to add that in my opinion, applying fragrance on your hands and on the back of your wrists are great places to applying a fragrance, because whenever you're talking with your hands like I'm doing in this video and in general, I think that's a great way of projecting out your scent outwards, because whenever you're moving your arms and hands around, it will most likely project your scent somehow, somewhere. So Aaron, I'm disagreeing with you on this one.
I'll even spray my shirt. Yep, I said it. Everybody who talks about the fact that don't spray it on your clothing, you're going to stain your clothing, it's going to mess up your clothing. Seriously, I have never ever seen a fragrance stain a shirt. Now, if you're spraying like straight oil, like if it's a super like extreme essence of concentrated fragrance, then sure, it's probably going to stain your shit. But if it's just an EDP fragrance, it is not going to stain your shirt.
So I agree with Aaron here. I am a big advocate of spraying your fragrance on your clothing, because clothes are a better carrier of fragrance oils than our skin, because fragrance oils tend to last longer on clothing. What I will say though is that fragrances can easily stain clothes, but only if they're of higher concentration and if the color of the fragrance is actually a darker color. For example, if you're going to wear a very highly concentrated oud fragrance, or a fragrance that is very thick with somewhat of a darker color, and you're applying it on a white shirt like I'm wearing right now, the probability of these fragrances staining this white shirt is going to be very likely. So what I suggest to avoid staining your clothing is that if you're going to apply a fragrance of a very dark color and high concentration, try to not apply it on clothing that is of very light and bright colors, or try to apply the fragrance from further away in order to let the oil spread from a further distance, to try to minimize the damage of your clothing so you don't stain them.
Axe body spray. Everybody says not to use this. and they're all right. It sucks.
Do I recommend applying Axe body spray? Not really. Can you use it as a deodorant? Yeah, you probably can if that's something that you want to do. I don't recommend it, but I'm not really against it. Body sprays are a funny criteria because example wise, Tom Ford has an oud wood body spray. And do I recommend wearing that on its own? No, I do not. But what I do recommend is that if you want to amplify the scent of Tom Ford oud wood, is to not only wear the fragrance itself, but also use the body spray as somewhat of a freshener on your clothing and maybe as a deodorant on top of your normal unscented deodorant to amplify the scent of your fragrance, but only if the fragrance and the body spray matches in scent.
Panty droppers. Everybody's talking about, oh, it's a panty dropper. Oh, it's gonna make her wet. Oh my God, she's gonna go crazy and her clothes are literally just gonna fall off her body. That actually probably won't happen unless you're super confident. And that's the thing I want to talk about. Here's the deal. It doesn't matter what fragrance you're wearing, how amazing and mystical and magical you smell, how much it stimulates her ovaries and they just start like thumping. If you're not confident, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your fragrance smells like sex and money. If you spray it on and you're not that dude, right? You're not gonna be that dude. A fragrance in and of itself cannot make somebody attracted to you. It can enhance what you already do and what you already have in terms of natural charisma and sex appeal.
So I 100% agree with Aaron here. A fragrance by itself will never get you laid. Of course, a fragrance will help with your confidence if you really like the scent, because people will be more likely to compliment you on the scent that you're wearing and perhaps start a conversation with you. But a fragrance will never do the job by itself without you trying to be confident and flirt with the women that you actually want to talk to and be with.
Next lie is that expensive fragrances are worth the money. No, they're not. How much do you think it costs to create something like Creed Aventus, which normally in the store will sell for like 450 bucks a bottle? How much do you actually think it costs to put the juice in this bottle, right? Probably $3, maybe $2. There is no better margin product out there in the world of the universe than fragrance, because honestly, the stuff in the bottle is literally like almost free. All right, the bottles can get expensive and the bottles are really what you're paying for.
This is a difficult place to really agree with each other, especially if the two parties of the conversation disagree in the first place. If I agree on a $200 fragrance being worth it for me, you might not think that a fragrance worth $200 is worth it for you. It is all about your personal taste, what you're willing to spend on a fragrance, what you're looking for in a fragrance, if you value high quality essential oils, raw materials and aroma chemicals, and overall a very skilled perfumer actually creating and composing the fragrance. But if you're looking for a fragrance that can do it all, smell mass appealing, smell great but not cost a lot, of course you're not going to think that a $200+ fragrance will ever be worth it. In terms of a $200 fragrance being worth it is very subjective and a personal matter, and for me, as long as the fragrance smells great and I enjoy it and I genuinely want to wear it and own it, then the price tag might differ if I think it's worth it or not. It really depends on the scent that we're talking about from matter to matter.
More than 3 sprays is acceptable depending on the fragrance. This is not true. Let me ask you a question. How many fragrance influencers have you ever met? Me, I've met probably 25. And guess what? They all fucking stink. It's not that the fragrance that they're wearing doesn't smell awesome, but they all wear too much fragrance. Gentlemen, here's the deal. When it comes to smelling incredible and the best you possibly can, less is more. It's not about punching people in the face repeatedly with the fragrance. It's more like a gentle tap, a little nudge, a little, hey, don't you think I'm sexy?
So I disagree with Aaron here, and the reason being is that applying too much fragrance or having a too strong fragrance is a very subjective and personal matter. Not only does it really matter about the fragrance that you're using and the amount of fragrance that you're using to a specific place and location, but it's also based on your personal taste and the goal of wearing the specific fragrance and amount of fragrance that you're going to wear. If you're at a wedding and you want to stand out, it's okay to apply more than 3 sprays, because that's where you want to get noticed. You want to fill a room, you want to be noticed and complimented on the fragrance that you're wearing. So of course you'll be more likely to want to spray a lot of that fragrance in order to get noticed and get complimented. But if you're going to wear the exact same fragrance in a very closed cubicle office space, then that will not be as good of a choice, because people will be more likely to be offended or provoked by the fragrance that you're wearing, because it's way too strong and it's not really a very professional scent. But apart from that, I understand the perspective that Aaron's coming from, mainly because he might be a guy that doesn't want to offend people with the fragrances that he's wearing. If he wants to have the scent of Aventus on his neck for himself and don't really offend anyone, then that's completely fine, and that's the type of person that Aaron is. But if you are a person who wants to stand out from the crowd and want to smell great and want everyone to know that you smell great by having a fragrance that projects a lot, fills your room, and has incredible sillage, then that is also completely fine in my opinion. For some occasions, some fragrances will be better and more suitable, whereas some other fragrances will be more suitable and more appropriate for other occasions. It really depends on a lot of factors and personal taste. But don't get me wrong, I understand where Aaron's coming from, and he might be a guy that doesn't want to offend anyone and keep the fragrance to himself and get a compliment if someone gets up close to him. That's completely understandable.
Should you put on fragrance before you go to the gym? Sure, why not? It's okay to do like one spray. But the other day, I'm in the gym, it's a crunch, right? And this dude comes up to me, he's like, yo, big fan. I'm like, wow, you smell awesome, which is code for, my God, you're wearing too much cologne.
In my opinion, it's completely fine to wear fragrance whenever you're at the gym. I do it all the time, and I like to apply a lot in order to smell great and get people's attention with the fragrance that I'm wearing. But again, it all depends on the type of fragrance that you're wearing at the gym. Fresh, clean, aquatic citrusy scents are meant to be worn in the warm weather and, in my opinion, at the gym as well. So that's completely fine.
The next lie is that you should let your girlfriend pick out your fragrance. Awesome idea to smell like her ex-boyfriend.
Don't let anyone pick out the scent that you're going to wear and purchase ever. Fragrances are a personal matter and a personal thing to you and yourself only. So be sure to pick out the fragrance that you're going to purchase and wear. You want to smell of the scent that you want to smell of, and don't please anyone unless that is your goal of applying and wearing fragrances. But otherwise, choose your own fragrances.
Just because a fragrance is popular, right, doesn't mean it actually smells good. There are a lot of really fucking stinky fragrances out there. In my opinion, all right, the fresher fragrances are going to be less offensive. The darker, woodier, more musky fragrances are a little more manly, but they also run the risk of stinking and making you smell like testicles.
Again, a personal matter here. If you want to wear very oud heavy, possibly animalic, maybe stinky fragrances, then that's up to you. If you can pull them off, you like them and you want to wear them, great, do that. But it's all a matter of personal taste. If you like mass appealing fragrances, wear them. If you want something challenging and you love challenging fragrances that not everyone is going to appeal to, great, do that. Again, it's a matter of personal taste.
The next lie is that you don't need a fragrance. All right, fine. All right, if you want to go al natural and run around your house, like fine. But if you're going out, like why wouldn't you just give yourself like one spritz, right? Not too overpowering. Why don't you always want to smell amazing? And that's my question.
I agree. Why don't you want to smell great? I think every time you go anywhere, you should apply a fragrance in order to smell amazing and give off a pleasant scent.
The next lie is that you always need to be rotating and changing your fragrances. I personally don't think this is true. I think that it's good to have a few different options. You can try different fragrances or wear different ones depending on the mood, depending on the day, depending on what situation or event you're going to. But always having to rotate and change and spending a crazy amount of money on fragrances, I think is a little bit silly. All right, I see some of these dudes and girls that have literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars of fragrance. Having a big collection, in my opinion, is kind of like a waste.
In my opinion, every guy should have fragrances for different types of occasions, seasons, and formalities. If you only want one fragrance, then go ahead. But in my opinion, it's best to have a selection of fragrances so you can choose between different scents for different formalities, occasions, and seasons.
The last lie, and that is mixing and matching fragrances is a horrible idea, in my opinion. One fragrance per day, that's it, end of story. period.
Again, a very personal matter. If you want to layer fragrances because you think that might get you a very nice scent combination, then do that. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not a fan of layering scents because I want the individual fragrance to do its job and smell the way that it smells, so I don't really layer different fragrances. But if you want to do that, then go ahead. Overall, I think that Aaron comes with some good points and some points that I either disagree with because he's outright wrong, but with the majority of them, I think he's wrong because it's a matter of personal taste and preferences. So I like this video, but I don't love this video because Aaron gives his own opinions as if that's the outright norm and needs to be the set tone for everyone. I disagree with that, and I think you should take every influencer's opinions and tips with a grain of salt and really test things out for yourself and see what your personal preferences are and what you think is the best thing for you, especially with the amount of fragrance that you wear, the type of fragrance that you wear, and when and where you apply fragrance. Gentlemen, if you enjoyed this reaction video to Alpha M's video, then leave it a like and comment down below what you think about this topic and what you think of my video. Also, subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things that I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these two videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload, whereas this one up here is going to reveal that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.